Hello and welcome to a quick tank guide. I will tell you small bits about tank combat so you get the general understanding. The first question being, what tank to get? And that depends on what you wanna do. Do you wanna fight other tanks or just destroy enemy structures? But honestly, just get a simple light tank. It only needs 2 people to operate, maybe 3 if you need a spotter. It is fast and mobile, easy to control, and it uses 40mm ammo, which is just a decent ammo type overall. So the types of ammo there is 40mm, which has decent damage against vehicles and structures. Then we got 68mm AT, amazing against vehicles but bad against structures. And finally the 250mm, used mostly against structures. Next is how the tank damage system works. Almost every tank has 3 sides that take a different amount of damage. The front of the tank is the strongest side. Then the sides of the tanks are weaker and it will take more damage. And finally we got the ass of the tank, the weakest part taking the most amount of damage. So just remember, don't be a hoe. So at the end, always prioritize shooting the sides and the back of a tank. But if you can't, you should still shoot its front, because some damage is better than nothing. Then there is something little called the subsystem, or something like that, I'm not sure. So what that is the weak spots of all tanks. And that includes the turret, the tracks, and the fuel tank. Every time one of these parts gets shot, there is a small chance they will get damaged. If the turret is damaged, the tank cannot shoot. If the tracks are damaged, the tank is tracked and its movement is fucked. And if the fuel tank is damaged, you will start losing fuel rapidly. The way to fix this is to go to a safe place and repair your tank to 100%. And a small tip, if your fuel tank is damaged, after retreating, take out your fuel. That way it's not going to leak out all of the fuel. And after it's repaired, you can just put whatever you saved back. And the last thing to pay attention to is the armor. The armor in this game works similar to CSGO. The tank has the base health and armor. The armor only soaks up about 50% of the damage, the rest goes to your health. And note, the less armor you have, the less it's gonna soak up. At 50% armor, it's going to soak up only 25% of the damage. And at 0, it's gonna be 0, I mean, what did you expect? So, depending at what footage I use at this point in the video, you might have guessed how to check how much armor you have. And that is by looking how rusty your tank is. That's right people, the armor damage is visually cold, it's so immersive, I feel like I'm actually in the game, dude. And yeah, when it's totally damaged, you should consider repairing it. And for that, you'll need to go all the way back to a garage and bring 100 BMATs with you. So now that you know most things about the tanks, your character still needs to be equipped to handle a tank. So your first step is to go get a tanker's uniform. It will allow you to get more gas filters and BMATs. And hey, speaking of gas filters, that's the next step, a gas mask. Because enemies throw a lot of gas grenades at tanks, a gas mask is basically the most important thing to have. The next thing you want is some BMATs, and a hammer of course. About 40 to 60 BMATs is fine. BMATs are used to repair your tank health when it gets damaged. So make sure everyone has some. And finally it's the radio. Just get one so you can see on the map the position of enemy tanks, foot soldiers, and also friendly soldiers. Side note, if you work as a spotter, bring binos. It is essential for the spotter. And that's all the necessary stuff out of the way. Now there are some things you can bring, but don't really have to be honest. A weapon, just a small pistol or something, I don't know. A wrench, who knows, they could be useful to clear mines. A gas canister to refuel on the spot, although you will be replacing the BMATs with it. And a bandage, because you just never know. And the final thing to talk about is the tank combat tactics. There are numerous tactics out there for flanking, pushing, defending and many others. but the basic one that I'm going to teach you is the pussy strat. As the name implies, you need to play as a massive pussy, locating your target, which will most likely be a pillbox, waiting for all the enemies to clear out, then pushing, taking one shot, and then immediately retreating, preferably all the way to the other hex, just to be safe. I mean, you never know, they could be following, gotta be sure. And of course, if while pushing you get shot, immediately fall back, but this time 2 hexes if possible. I mean, you just never know, you gotta be safe, am I right? And that is basically the basics. Obviously not everything, but for the rest, best you go in game and learn it for yourself. My recommendation, find some random major or someone who looks like he knows what he's doing, and let him be a spotter or commander. Or if you're looking for a group to play with, consider joining our regiment. The link is right down below, feel free to join. And don't worry, we aren't a MILF sim regiment, we actually have fun role playing. Do note, the rest of the regiment is fluent in English, so don't worry about anything. That's it, see ya.